Guys, it's Dr. Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com and doing a sauna talk today on YouTube Live. Um, this topic is following your dreams part 3. So I think I left off on part 2 with me leaving Westside Barbell in 2000, almost 2008. It was like December of 2007. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about some key things that you probably want to have in your house. One of them, if you're heavily trained or you're trying to be healthy, a sauna is a great addition to a home gym. And so, with my home gym, one of these days, when I get it a little bit more complete, I'll go over all of the different stuff that I have here. But in the home gym, what we try to do is I try to find stuff that I don't have in my facility so that I have it at home. And it helps a lot with small accessory muscles, things that I don't necessarily want to use the space for in my own gym. But at home, I like to have it as an assessment tool, basically to fix weaknesses. So I do have a couple of pieces that I just have because I found a good deal on them or got them for free. But some of the pieces that I have are actually to fix weak points that I talk about on a consistent basis for everybody. So, back to the sauna. So, there's a lot of studies out there showing the health benefits of sauna, and using it so ever many times a week will decrease cardiovascular incidences. And a lot of it is because the sauna, and we've talked about this before, is your second kidney. So, when you sweat, you actually relieve yourself of toxins that the kidneys and other systems would have to put in play, and sweating helps alleviate those particular toxins or at least reduce them. So I've been using a sauna for quite a while. I seem to think that it helps me out pretty well with just maintaining. What's going on, Gary? What's going on, troll? I don't know what. Any thoughts on Diddy? Oh. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think, it's weird because without going too off track, I think once certain people reach a certain power level and monetary level, I think that traditional things that you and I both are all find to be entertaining or, even stuff that we would chase, like, even like women, for example, like all of that after it's been done 1,000 times gets super boring. And I think that people, they just get to where they just see how far they can push the limits. And I'm not saying that what he did was right or that everybody with money does those same things, but yeah, it's crazy. I need to do more research on exactly what's went down with him. So yeah, but back to my original thing. So part 3 of this is what what happened after I left Louis. Well, that was tough because when Louis kind of kicked me out and we had our words, that was in a position where I still felt like he was like a father figure to me, and I was still in my middle late 20s, I think 27. And I just felt like, my dad had just kind of kicked me out of the house. And it was odd because Chuck Vogelpool had left maybe a few months earlier. And so the first thing that came to my mind was, fucking, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to compete anymore. I was top, say, 3 in the world at the time. I had already made it on the Westside record board, which was an all-time goal for me. And so at first I was kind of like, maybe I should just give all this up and just find a different career or something that, I don't know, that just didn't, I gave 100% of what I had, at least I thought I did at that time. And so about a week goes by and I'm still kind of working out, and I end up getting the gumption to call up Chuck Vogelpool, and he's training at another gym about 5 miles away. And kind of asked him what his thoughts were, and he said, I need to come and train with you, or I need to come and train with him. And we decided to keep it all kind of secret, and we trained our asses off. And then about 8 months after getting booted and leaving Westside, I go back to Louis' actual pro-am meet and break the all-time world record in the 308. So I go from being like third or fourth best in the world to the best in the world. And I think that was the first clue that Louis had made a huge mistake of kicking me out of the gym, because yeah, he could have kicked me out, but he probably thought I was done at that time. And in reality, I wasn't done at all. I just needed almost that drive to prove someone wrong that, one, I knew what I was doing, and two, my career wasn't over. And so once that happened, that created a little bit of pride back, knowing that the deloading that I was doing and taking the gear off, the suit bottoms and the briefs and the knee wraps, taking them off every 3 or 4 weeks was actually a really smart idea. So another year goes by. I take my squat past 1100. Now I'm only one of the few guys that's squatted 1100 at Westside Barbell, or at least formerly from Westside Barbell. So that was cool. And still maintain some of the biggest numbers in the world in my weight class. That was 2009. So in 2010, I end up getting my courage up again to open up my own facility. And initially called it Ludus Magnus. Now it's mostly known as Wenning Strength facility, downtown Columbus. And I had just enough clients to kind of pay the bills, keep the overhead. I didn't live too far away from the gym, talking like 5 minutes. So transportation was cheap and easy. And that was the process of starting things on my own. About 6 months later, I get a random email from an army division, and they asked me if I'd be willing to come out and take a look at their weight training programs and stuff like that in Colorado. And so I had a little bit of experience with Ranger Regiment, reduced some injury rates and increased performance, and some whispers that heard about it, some people had heard about it in the Army. So I go out to Colorado, and this is the first time I'm making like huge dollars. At that time, working for the Army, I was making about $5,000 a day. Now you got to remember, this is 2011. Even today, that's insane money. But back then, it was crazy money. And so I was really smart with it. I paid off my house, and I took most of it and saved it and let the interest accrue. And businesses were doing better, more clients, more contracts. Fire departments started to contact me. And can you say hell yeah, brother, for me? You're hilarious. Um, yeah, feeling about Louis is just different now. I think I almost felt sorry for him. He was so one dimensional, and all he cared about was Westside Barbell in the gym. And I don't think he realized that, once he died, there's a handful of us that still remember those times and still hold that in high regard. But in most cases, Westside Barbell's kind of disappeared off the map almost immediately after he died. And it's only been 2.5 years, and it's already just like a distant memory for a lot of people. I think that goes to show that in powerlifting and strength sports, you're only as good as you are today. And it's sad because you really think about even basketball. I mean, you go back to, say, pre 1999, there's only a handful of people that remember the guys that competed in those years. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, you got Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson. And a lot of it's because they've done things outside of their actual sport. I think if Michael Jordan didn't have the Jordan brand and didn't make so much different moves with different things outside of basketball, he wouldn't be considered not only a great or a GOAT, but people would have talked about him like he was a legendary player. But in the next 10 or 15 years, many people that watch basketball had never even seen or heard of Michael Jordan. Well, I think in the strength sports that happens a lot faster. And so I felt bad for Louis, because I think that he thought that his name would be immortalized, and in some people like myself and others, it is. But to the vast majority of people, it just wasn't. Most people just don't care enough about being super strong. And when they do, it's a very short period of time in their life. It's not a lifestyle like it was for me. Or Louis did want Westside Barbell to absolutely stop when he died. So I'll try to get to some of these questions here in a little bit. Let me finish up this part 3. So I finally get some military contracts, fire contracts. I'm, financially stable. I do two more equipped meets. One, I hit, I think the second highest squat of all time was like 1125 in 2010. But the business was starting to take off so much that it was hard for me to focus completely on powerlifting because I was helping so many other branches and people. Well, then what I found was 2011, I just gotten back from the military contract, and I wanted to solely focus on being the first man from Westside Barbell to squat 1,200 pounds. So that spring of 2011, I squat 1,197.6 pounds at like 300 or 299 body weight. And I was the first guy to squat right at or 1,200 pounds from Westside Barbell. And I think that drove Louie and I even further apart because I would run into him occasionally at, Texas Roadhouse or another restaurant. And we would be cordial and shake hands and say hi. But there just wasn't, you could tell there was a lot of animosity towards it. And then I think towards the end of the Westside versus the World documentary, fast forwarding a little bit on Louie's side of this story, what I found was that Louie slowly started to give me more and more props. So people would stop by Westside Barbell and ask Louie about me, about Wenning Strength, and Louie's like, he knows his shit, And that was interesting because people would come back and tell me, hey, Louie said, you're really smart and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's when, probably 6 or 8 years after that, after we had our falling out, I think is when the men was starting to increase. Well, fast forward into 2022, I get a book in the mail at the gym because he didn't have my home address anymore. And it was the Westside Barbell book, and it said, proud of you and all of your accomplishments. And that's when I kind of knew that he was apologizing, but I didn't realize at the time that he was dying. And so I tried to contact him. I called him. I got a voicemail, and he never messaged me back. And then a couple of weeks later, I had found out that he had passed away. And so that's kind of sucks because I wish we could have kindled things. And I think that was probably more on me than Louie. Louie probably was content with sending a book and just kind of apologizing in his own way. But it would have been nice to rekindle that and kind of help because I think, once you're a Westside Barbell guy, you're kind of always a Westside Barbell guy. It was just, it was tough because, I was getting a lot of information from Verkhoshansky and Zatsiorsky on how to train smarter. And those are the books that Louie showed me initially. I'm talking to the actual authors, the guys before they pass away. And Louie doesn't want anything to do with it, doesn't want to hear it. So it's crazy. The window on the wall, sweat drip. Yeah, it's hotter than fucking here. It's like 130 degrees. I'm sweating pretty good. But these lives make it go a lot faster. So yeah, that's kind of what happened with Louie. But following your dreams, it kind of made me push harder to get split from Louie. It was kind of like I had to prove him wrong and show him that I still had a lot in the tank. But by 2012, I started seeing the writing on the wall with the equipped lifting and, people going, well, that's equipment. It's not real strength. And by that time, I was training raw every 3 weeks. So I knew that I was capable to or close to the all-time world record raw, which at that time was held by Dan Kovacs at 22:02. Keeping in mind that was the world record raw total for about 10 or 12 years before I attempted to break it. So the first thing I do is, test my bench press. We go to a local bench press meet, it's an APF Ohio meet, and I hit my first 600. And that was a huge deal because, at that time, there had only been, I think, 13 or 15 people had ever been 600 in any weight class. So to be able to do that was impressive, especially coming from it as an equipped lifter. So that's what's going on. That was what was going on with that. So in 2013, I enrolled my first all raw meet and end up getting the third highest total of all time at raw, my first raw debut. But I got to the meet and didn't realize it was a walkout meet, and I hadn't walked out since USAPL. For you guys that don't believe me, drug tested, and I had squatted 826, walked out. So it was a little bit of a wake up call. I got there and I was like, oh shit, I'm already here. I might as well do it. So I ended up squatting something around 780, walked out. My bench falters away because the squat kicked my ass, and that's when the winning warm-up started to come into play. So I think this is a pretty good place to stop for following your dreams. Part 3 is sometimes when you split away from people that you think that might be your mentors, it makes you grow even further. And I had a lot of animosity because I think I could have maybe grown faster with Louis, but Louis was one of those kinds of people that if it wasn't with just powerlifting, it was hard to grow next to him because he was just very difficult and sometimes to deal with. So, but there's part of the story, part 3. I'll get to the winning warm-ups and all that stuff in part 4. So guys, go visit wenningstrength.com, check out the manuals. We just reintroduced the travel manual, which is what I used on this vacation that I just took on my motorcycle, and I could only pack 2 bands. And so a lot of the exercises in there is what I've exactly done the last 3 motorcycle rides. I went back in and I did some small changes on the file, and then we really pushed it out. Do I ever work with runners? Yeah, I used to be the head strength coach for Ball State's track team. We had some guys. Ford a shirt. Yeah, why would I wear a shirt in a sauna? That's just ridiculous. Kidneys. Everything seems to be stabilizing. I'm about to do another stem cell round, and probably in December. I'm on some different peptides for that. If you need peptides or a trusted source, let me know. I have an affiliate program with probably the top peptide source that I have ever found. A lot of pro guys use it, but we put it behind the Patreon wall. Just another big reason to be on Patreon. So yeah, talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad we got almost 40 people on this. Make sure you guys go and share the videos and like them as much as you can. We're trying to get the YouTube channel to really pop, and I really need your guys' support on help on that. So talk to you guys soon.